Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. And just like that.
Just like that.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey, y'all, hey. Welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything: TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even 50-something women living, loving, and parenting in modern day New York City.
Right.
We love to watch, and we love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
And
just like that,
the second season of the Sex and the City reboot on Max. Not HBO Max, Max.
No longer HBO Max, just Max.
We both loved the original HBO Sex and the City series.
Loved it.
Iconic, classic. I think for me, it was in college when I really discovered it. And I was like interning in New York City in the summers, and I was like getting ready to move to New York City after graduation. And I was like, this is gonna be me.
I'm Carrie Bradshaw.
Ah.
It's a fantasy. It's TV.
Fantasy. That's what we want. That's what Darren Star created. A fantasy for us all.
Exactly. Yeah, I rewatched it. I think you told me about it because you started watching in college. So then, and you were so obsessed. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch Sex and the City. So I watched the whole thing in high school. So because obviously when it came out in the 90s, like we weren't watching Sex and the City. We were toddlers, yeah. Yeah. So we could not have watched it back then. So we watched it, yeah, somewhat recently for the first time. And it's so fun to rewatch old episodes. It was like on a plane, and I watched it on a plane. It's such a rewatchable show.
So
exactly. Good. And what did you think of the two movies?
They were fine. I feel like the first one was better than the second.
Yeah.
But either way, I thought they probably should have kept to the TV show. I don't think they were necessary. It was kind of like a cash grab.
Oh, for sure. I agree. I think the first one was decent, and it actually mattered for the storyline, right? It was Carrie and Big's wedding, and then the dramatic scene of her throwing the flowers at him in the middle of the street. So I think the first one is definitely more iconic, whereas the second one is just kind of problematic. Like they were in Dubai, right? And yeah, it was a trip to. It was something. The second movie was something for sure. Who are you out of the four main original cast members? This is a very important question that people want to know.
I think I'm a combination of Charlotte and Miranda, but if I have to like choose, I'm probably Charlotte. I'm definitely not Carrie. I feel like I want to be Samantha, her like bold energy. She's very confident.
Yeah, independent.
Super like forward, but that's not me. And I'm not like crazy traditional, but I feel like kind of put together and not super bold at times. So I feel like I'm closer to Charlotte. But historically, I also have been focused on career like Miranda, but I feel like I'm closer to Charlotte.
This is so funny because we've talked about this, and I'm exactly the same. I agree. I'm a combination of Miranda and Charlotte because I think I'm very career motivated, independent, but I think I do have some of the, kind of traditional values or just aesthetics of Charlotte. So I think I resonate.
Giving Charlotte today. If you're watching, you can see us.
We're in our Charlotte Blair Waldorf cosplay, kind of. We're wearing headbands, so that's the look today. So yes, we're embodying Charlotte today. I think I resonate with Miranda in the original series. Now Miranda is just
do not resonate.
No, not at all. I think I resonate with Charlotte in the reboot a lot more. Right? I think this season, Charlotte really has come into her own. She's going back to work. She's prioritizing herself. She's like, Harry, no, you deal with the kids. I've been doing this the entire time, so you can contribute now, And I think that's been really cool seeing Charlotte be more free and doing things for herself. So I've enjoyed Charlotte a lot this season.
We do have to talk about how Kim Cattrall left the series on bad terms. and
Yes.
not a part of the reboot. She did not come back for season 1, where most of the cast and crew returned, including Big. And
Yes.
then in season 2, we have Aidan come back, and you have most people returning. And then all of a sudden, Kim Cattrall is back in the finale in a cameo. So exciting.
Heyo. Love seeing her.
Because Samantha was so crucial and integral, I feel like, to the
I
original.
know. Yes.
Not having her is definitely a loss. But I think they've done their best to like bring in other characters to try and fill that void, like Seema. But there's only one Samantha.
It's a big loss, and you can feel the loss without Samantha there, but I think this season was a lot more successful than the first one, just in every way, pretty much every way. Can you elaborate what happened with Kim Cattrall? I know there was a lot of beef between her and Sarah Jessica Parker, and how she just didn't want anything to do with the production.
I know that there was some apparent beef, like you said, between Kim and Sarah Jessica Parker, SJP. But it seems like Kim just didn't want to play the character anymore. Like, they started playing these characters in the 90s, right? Like, it's a long time to be with Samantha. And you hear that a lot with like long running shows like Friends or The Office. Like, by the end, people are like ready to go.
We're tired.
Long time with the character. And then you look at Grey's Anatomy, a lot of people left. Patrick Dempsey left, which you never think. Now
Meredith Grey.
Pompeo left. Like, it's a long time to be on a show, and I think some people are like, I'm ready to move on.
Right. Yeah, so RIP to Samantha. She made a cameo, which we were very excited to see. But the first season, we miss her. And then just like that. How did you feel about season 1? Season 1 was off the walls. Everyone was talking about how insane it was. What did you think?
Yes, season 1 came out kind of like middle of pandemic. I think it was like 2021. And people were shocked they were doing a reboot. Like,
why?
This is a show that people love. Don't need to mess with it.
Right.
Everyone was coming back. So we're like, well, how are you gonna do without Samantha? When you start watching it, you realize a few things. It's like too woke. Like, they're trying to deal with the fact that the first, series wasn't the most diverse. I think they really tried hard
to overcompensate.
To overcompensate. And it was the most like forced diversity I've seen in my life. Shake, shake, shake. We need a non-binary person. We need someone who's Asian. We need someone who's Latinx. We need someone who's Black. We need more people who are Black. We need just more gay people. We just need everything. Shake, 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 shake.
Charlotte's child needs to be non-binary. Rock,
it was
rock.
Just too much. And I literally could barely watch season 1, and it became a hate watch where
crazy.
Every week you were just watching so you could talk with your friends, like, can't believe they did this. And I think what's tough in a TV show, when you have so many new characters and so much diversity, it's hard to really let people like breathe and to see the characters develop and actually understand who Nia Wallace is, right? We just see that now Miranda has a Black professor she's interacting with, and she thinks she's a student. It's just like weird. It's uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh, that interaction when she was like, Miranda's like, where's the professor?
It was like tragic.
Like, they need to stop making the Sex and the City ladies act like Karens. I felt like that's what the first season felt like. It was like, oh, we don't know what Black people are. Like, we don't, like, what's a non-binary? It was so cringy.
And I feel like
it's crazy.
For some of these characters, like, you think Carrie is going to be that out of touch? I don't think so, right? She's like this fashion blogger in New York City. It just feels strange that these like very metropolitan in the know women would be that out of touch. But it didn't seem true to their characters. Like, I feel like Miranda especially, all of a sudden, just like her character down the tubes.
And it's like she was that independent career woman in the 90s, and it's now all of a sudden it just did not make any sense. Season 1 was unbelievable. I can't believe that was television. But So Che Diaz. I remember when Che Diaz became the biggest meme of all time. Everyone hated Che Diaz. Do you remember this?
I do, because it was too much.
Yeah.
It's almost like how, on the Real Housewives of New York City before they rebooted it, Ebony, like how she was
Yes.
Christian to
Oh
like
my gosh.
educate the woman on what it means to be a Black woman, and like it honestly was like too much. And I didn't even finish watching that season, but
That's a good comparison.
Che was like a walking, talking history book on like LGBTQ life.
It was like, I'm gay, ha ha ha, and like that was the joke. It was
It was too
who
much.
was writing Che's jokes season 1?
Oh God. I do think Che
No,
is more
no.
likable in season 2,
Yeah,
but season 1 it was tough.
it was tough. Okay, so I think we did had enough of hating on season 1.
Yeah.
Let's get to season 2.
Yes.
What a redemption. It was definitely
A lot
better.
better. I think it was a lot better.
I don't know if it's in the run for Emmys, but it was
No.
definitely better than season 1. Okay, let's get into the themes. Parenting. Parenting was really big this season.
I'd say a big theme is like dealing with Gen Z. And I feel like that's also just a theme in life. I feel like everyone's talking about who's Gen Z, how
Gen
do we deal with
Z.
them?
Right.
Why are they this way? I'm not gonna lie, all of their kids are like the worst.
For
Um,
sure.
and I'm like, wow, are these how kids are? Were we like that? Or is
Or is
this
this how boomers think kids act? I think
I
this is
hope they don't
what
act
boomers and the Gen X think teens act. And I don't think they're talking crazy to their parents. I just think normal teens are like on TikTok all day. That's my impression.
crazy. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It's hard to know, but I think I also would lean on this is how we think teens are acting right now.
Right, right. Like Rock was a lot and Lily was a lot to Charlotte. The kids were mean to her. They were like, why are you going back to work? You need to come back and do this. And Rock was like, you need to get something. I left my binder. I left my book at home. All this stuff. And I'm like, why can't they do that? Why do they have to make Charlotte pick up and leave
Why
all of
can't you just be
her?
without your binder for a day?
Right. And Rock is like, no,
Hey,
I
you
need my
could have kept
binder.
it at home back in the day for me. You forget it at home.
Right. If you forget it, you forget it. Borrow it from a friend, right? And it's like, why do they have to
Out
leave
of
your
luck.
office and get the book for you? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and what's Miranda's son's name?
Brady.
Brady.
My gosh.
He
Having
was,
sex at all hours of the night, waking
oh
people
my
up, like
gosh.
deciding to
Lily
go on to
and
college. I'm like, what's going on?
what is going on? And Lily and Brady having sex together? Why would they do that? That's
Very,
insane.
very weird.
That's so weird. They basically grew up together. Why would they do that? Yeah, their kids are wild.
Lisa and Herbert's son.
Yes, their son bringing his girlfriend back, being in her mom's closet. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I
disrespectful.
wish you would. Like imagine, like, oh yeah, my boyfriend wanted to see your closet, Dad. I hope that's okay. No, why are you showing people the closet
No,
you live? That's
no,
crazy.
no. They're trying to take something. I don't want her in my clothes.
That's
No way.
weird.
Really, really weird.
Don't go in your
So the
parents' room
kids
regardless.
were
Stay in your room.
motherhood was also big. We saw that with Lisa and Herbert, right? She had a miscarriage. And it was interesting because she was like, oh, I'm too busy. I can't have a baby right now. This is too much, right? And clearly there was too much going on. Like her body couldn't handle it. She was stressed and she had a miscarriage, which was very sad. And she was like, did I wish it away? Right. And there's a lot of guilt with that.
Yeah, that was sad. She definitely, I think, was overwhelmed in this season. And it was interesting to see her and Herbert as working parents and trying to balance
Yeah.
that and the gender roles. Like she couldn't always make dinner and she's trying to like build up her documentary film career now and still take care of the kids and be a doting wife so he can run for public office. Like they're just doing a lot.
Right.
And something had to give, you know.
And we see that with Charlotte, like we said, she's going back to work. Her and Harry are trying to figure out what parenting looks like for them now that Charlotte is a working mom again. And you see Harry and Charlotte's kids kind of resenting her. They're like, why aren't you here? You're not picking up your phone, all this stuff. Pick up my binder. And Charlotte's like, no, I need to do this for me. I've been dedicating my whole life to you. I need this for me. And it's like her kids are teens now. They don't need Charlotte to do everything for them, right?
She should be able to go back to work. And that's why it was interesting to your point. Like, I think gender roles was a big theme, working parents was a big theme, because you had Charlotte finally realizing like she needs to do more things for her and her kids will be okay.
Yeah,
Harry should be able to step up given she's been home for 15 years, maybe more, you know?
right. And also in regards to parenthood, for Aidan, there's huge, implications, and he's clearly struggling with his son who got into an accident and he was so devastated. And we see how that impacts his and Carrie's relationship. And we'll get into it, but Aidan prioritizes his son over Carrie. Rightfully so, right? Like that's his son. He's struggling. He needs his dad. So it was really interesting seeing how Aidan had to make that sacrifice for his kids. He had to sacrifice his relationship with Carrie to be there for his son.
Parents do make a lot of sacrifices. And I do think that the show does an authentic portrayal of, right, dealing with parenthood, making sacrifices for your kids, balancing that with work. Like, I think they do a good job.
Right. I agree. They definitely did a better job this season.
Yes.
Giving nuanced perspectives and
Yeah.
depictions of parenthood. Because we didn't see that much season 1.
No.
No.
Speaking of that, I do think they did a better job this season looking at their careers as well, right? We talked about Lisa going back to work and focusing on her documentary career, Charlotte going back to work in the art gallery.
Yes. And we also see that Che has a lot of drama with their acting career. Che's trying to make that transition from stand-up to acting and having a pilot, which a lot of comedians do. But Che's pilot is not successful. They have a white actor playing, the dad who's supposed to be, yes, Tony Danza, exactly, who is supposed to be Mexican or Cuban or something.
But
And
they're like, no, make him Italian, and your mom could be the Latin one, and Che's like, well, that's not authentic. So there's just like a lot of drama, which is interesting. I think it's a take on what it's like to create a show, work on a script. Like there's all this like back and forth with the studio and giving you feedback, and it's hard to keep your authentic voice. And I think that ended up hurting Che's character in the pilot, because when they were testing it, no one liked Che.
It was sad when they had the focus group and there was a queer person of color in the group who was like, this is propaganda. Like it was just a really negative critique of Che's pilot, saying as a queer person, this feels fake, it feels forced. As a queer person of color, all this stuff. And Che, you could tell, was really devastated by that. So then we see Che move back to New York. Her Hollywood dreams are crushed. Miranda was living with Che in Hollywood, which was also very bizarre. And Che's going through it. So Che ends up working at a vet,
like
as
taking her
the
old
front
job
desk,
back
right,
at a vet.
But we got to see some development from Che, and then we see at the end Che gets back to their roots and is doing stand-up again. So
even though it was mean towards Miranda, they're
that
getting
was
back on the
rough.
horse.
Exactly, that was rough. Speaking of Miranda also kind of goes back to square one a little bit. So she does an internship at this public service public law firm, public interest law firm. And we see there's a weird dynamic between Miranda and the other interns, because of course Miranda is a seasoned attorney and the other interns resent her. And we see Miranda in this, weird space where she's getting all these opportunities and the other interns resent her. And she's like, do I deserve this? She feels ungrateful. So, but then the pregnant woman who is the attorney there is like, no, Miranda, you earned this. You were a partner at a corporate law firm. Like, you deserve to be here. So
Yeah, like even though you went back to school and you're starting over in a new type of law, you still have like X plus years of experience.
exactly.
I'm glad she got that talking to. And it was helpful because I think we're still missing that Miranda who's like a baddie.
I
Like
know.
we need to get that back. And I think the fact that she and Shay break up, she was having issues as the intern, she lost that. But then at the end, when she's able to get interviewed by BBC since her supervisor couldn't, you can
Right.
see like the excitement
She's
of
back.
like, ooh, I'm a baddie on the job and I'm working. Like you can see that confidence back. So I hope Miranda the baddie is loading.
I agree. I think a lot of people, a huge critique about season one is that Miranda seemed disheveled, chaotic, making horrible decisions. What happened to the boss Miranda, right? Who was like, I'm a baddie, I'm a lawyer, I'm standing up for myself, right? And we're seeing this shell of a person of Miranda throughout season two as well.
Midlife
Who's
crisis.
right, exactly.
Midlife crisis.
She's
But a
going
bad
through a
one.
midlife crisis. Really bad. And so I was happy to see at the end she's starting to get her groove back. Thank God, finally, right? Because
Miranda got her groove back. One last thing on the career. Carrie barely had her career talked about this season, but at the beginning of
very
this
true.
season, remember she's kind of likes her podcast producer.
Yeah, they're hooking up.
They're hooking up, and then her podcast company goes under, so she's not podcasting anymore. It's interesting. Carrie's in a place where she doesn't really have to work if she doesn't want to. And she
Right. She's got all of Big's money.
literally. So she was like, okay, bet, no podcast. Let me
Write a book.
write a book. Yeah. There was a bad situation, podcast goes under, but now I can write a book.
Right. It gives her the
Yeah,
flexibility
like
to do what she wants.
pivot, do something new. So it was nice to see that from her too.
I totally agree. Another big theme was sex, love, relationships. Of course.
Sex in the City.
Yeah, so we see, I mean, Aidan comes back.
Laura, were you Team Big or Aidan in the original show?
Who is Team Big? Is anyone Team Big? Of course, Aidan. Who is Team Big? If you're Team Big, that's problematic.
I'm screaming. That's the red flag.
That's the red flag.
That's the red flag. I'm aligned. I was always Team Aidan. So I was excited to see him come back. But my initial concern was, oh, how convenient. Big's dead. Now Carrie, you know?
Yeah, I know. And when she was like, now I'm just wondering if Big was a big mistake. Remember when she said that? I was like, I can't.
Iconic line.
Carrie. He was. I mean, he was. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah. And I think she finally realized that.
It took decades and for him to die for you to realize that he was a big mistake. Okay, girl.
I'm not sure if it's because now that later in life they're just looking at the bright side and trying to be happier, but they felt very like carefree and fun.
Yeah.
And it was nice because it felt like Big and Carrie were always very serious.
Always fighting. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I agree. There was a carefreeness,
lighthearted, carefree.
Yes, a lightness in the relationship, which was refreshing. It was really fun to see them just act like young lovers again and just be happy. I feel like this was one of the first times we saw Carrie really happy on the show.
Yes, completely agree. It wasn't forced. It was very light. She was just like, yes, I'm with Aidan again. And it was like young love. It was giving like young puppy love.
It was really, it felt like finally, this is what was supposed to happen all along. That's what it felt like.
Too little, too late.
Literally. Now it's just so complicated and all of Aidan's kids drama.
Aidan has kids and an ex-wife. Like, there's a lot more in their lives now that does make it harder
Right.
to be together. But I
Very
did
true.
like how they were trying to make it work, right? They were staying in hotels, Che's apartment. And then eventually Aidan was like, I will come into Carrie's apartment. There's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of triggers,
Reasonably so.
which makes sense. There's a lot of bad memories, but I'm glad he was eventually able to go back into her apartment.
Yeah.
Come to terms with those demons.
Trauma.
Maybe like a few months ago, a rumor went out that Aidan was returning, and I think people freaked out. Like that was the
Oh my
biggest
gosh.
moment.
Yeah, I mean, who wasn't excited to see Aidan? And you could tell that, yeah, Carrie just loved having him back. So that was so great to see.
Big deal. It's a big deal. I mean, there were a lot of relationship themes. One is dating after divorce or separation.
Yes.
Naya, her and
Yeah.
her husband seemed kind of cute last season. And then this season, he goes on tour because he's a musician. Yikes. She stays in New York working, and they disagree about having another child because she's gone through a lot of rounds of IVF and it's just very draining and she doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So, and then he cheats on her
And
while
is having a baby.
having a baby. So that was tough for me. Everything about that storyline.
Oh, goodness.
But I did like seeing Naya try and figure out what this post-divorce life is like. And she would go
Right.
on dates and go to bars and was trying to figure out what she wanted. She was like, wow, dating apps and hookups. This is crazy. I can't believe people just like sleep with you and leave. Like she was like, this is wild. And it's
Yeah.
cute that at the end, the Michelin chef, who she had met at a bar months ago when she was technically still married, is the chef that does Carrie's Last Supper meal. And she sees him and they immediately like lock eyes. And it's like, oh, something's here.
Great meet cute. That was really good to see. That was a good callback by the writers.
It was. And then of course we had a very bad breakup this season with Miranda and Che. Did you expect that?
I didn't necessarily expect it because last season was all about Miranda leaving Steve for Che. Yeah. And we end last season being like, I'm moving to LA. I'm going to live with Che and we're going to be in Hollywood together. So, and then beginning of the season, they're fighting a bunch and then they break up. It was, I don't know. I thought it was kind of bizarre. I was like, what? We're just ending Che Miranda like that? I felt like so much of last season was all about them. And then it's just over. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because, oh, they're just so wonderful together. I was surprised because of how much time was dedicated to their relationship. How about you? What did you think?
I guess I wasn't surprised because I never really felt like they were the best match.
No.
And for someone like Che, that very confident in who they are, and you have Miranda trying to figure it out. I always felt, I don't know, would Che like that? And even when Che does their stand-up, you can sense how they're talking about Miranda, that there was a little animosity, like Miranda didn't really know what she was doing and stuff. So I not shocked they broke up, but to your point, they had spent so much time talking about them, and Miranda had like
uprooted her life
to be with
Che. So I was like, what? They're breaking up? And they didn't. What was even the reason that they broke up? Miranda was just kind of smothering her and Che was going through a lot. It didn't seem like there was a real
it didn't seem reason. Like a big reason, but it's like Miranda was too much for Che.
I think that's all it was at the end of the day,
which is tough.
The end of their relationship was it doesn't have to be like a nice pretty little bow at the end, but it didn't. It felt a little bit unresolved.
I thought we would see less Che once that happened, but I forget that Che and
Carrie
are friends.
Podcasters.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, Miranda seemed bothered.
Yeah, you could tell Miranda was annoyed that Carrie wanted to still be friends with Che.
I think the difference is that they're in their 50s, right? I feel like it's harder to hold grudge and have these immature things, being like, how dare you be friend of my ex when it's like we're literally grown women. So I think that's a bit different. But I think, you know, maybe if you're in your 20s and you're friends with one of my exes, I think I would have more of an issue. But I don't know, at this point, we're older. Why are we fighting over stuff like this?
To Carrie's credit, Carrie knew Che before Miranda knew Che, right? Like Carrie and Che were coworkers before Miranda started dating them.
So they had a relationship before. Carrie introduced them. I think it's fair for Carrie to still be friends with Che.
And what's interesting is a few people call out Miranda for having bad relationships with her exes.
Oh, Miranda did not like that.
Did not. I know Miranda really went through it this season and last season. Miranda,
exactly. Miranda has not been good.
Has not been good to her.
No, the show has not been good to Miranda. R.I.P. There are some successful marriages.
So it was cool to kind of see Lisa and Herbert and then Charlotte and Harry focus on like spicing up their marriage. They both seem to be very like happy and stable, you know?
Thank God.
Thank goodness. So it was nice. Whenever both of those couples were on my screen, I loved. I mean, Herbert's mom, so Lisa's mother-in-law, seems really tough.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that was the one thing I was like, ooh, hopefully they're okay. But besides that, I feel like both of those couples, they were doing well.
Yeah, his mayoral run, isn't he running for mayor? I think he's running for something.
Something else, yeah.
Yes, but I don't know how I feel about that. I just think once families and marriages go through a political run, that just puts so much pressure on things. So I'm just concerned about that.
It did seem like they already had so much going on with, he's, I guess, a finance guy. She's a documentary filmmaker. They have 3 kids.
Doesn't seem like a smart thing.
Yeah, it seems like they already have
so much going on. We love a black couple. Black stable couple.
Love seeing them. Yeah, black stable couple.
Yeah. I remember seeing a meme, I think on Instagram, and it was like, how are Charlotte and Harry the best couple in Sex and the City? Right? Isn't that absurd?
You never would have thought. You never would have thought.
Never.
Love that for them.
They're cute. They're sweet.
Cute. And they just they know each other well. I feel like they're a good balance because Charlotte's like a little high strung and Harry's like relax.
I like them together. And another theme, lots of sex love relationships themes, right? Unexpected love.
Yeah.
Anthony, hot fellas.
Yeah, what did you think about Anthony dating the hot fellas guy?
I'm happy for Anthony because it seems like he's getting pushed out of his comfort zone, literally, right? So,
and Stanford left him.
I know, so sad. They put a bow on the Stanford leaving the show story.
It's tough. Like
it was sad.
It was hard to kind of follow. Oh, he wants to be like a monk or whatever, but
they had to do something
because the real actor did pass away, so
right.
They had to do something.
I don't know if they did like his story that much justice, but they had to do something. Agreed. So, but I'm glad that Anthony has this hot guy. He's really cute, Italian poet. So I like this relationship for him.
Yeah, I think it's fun. To your point, I think it's good for Anthony because he's like, why would he be into me? Like, what? And I think it's helping Anthony's confidence, and it does seem like kind of like a fun, light thing for him. But at the end, the hot fellas guys, like, I need to go back to Italy. So, cliffhanger.
And another highlight was Seema and this movie director.
Yes. Seema is like Carrie's real estate agent / friend.
It's like the new Samantha, basically.
The new Samantha. And she kind of was just kind of like dating around, and you could sense a little discomfort with her when Carrie and Aidan got together. And she has this conversation like, you forgot about the Hamptons and you've had all these loves, and you can sense Seema's, I don't know if jealous is the word, but just kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, frustration maybe.
Yeah, frustration, like, oh, I don't have any loves. And then all of a sudden,
love comes knocking on her door.
Literally. So one of her fellow real estate agents like, oh, you have to work with this difficult movie director. He's hot, but also really difficult. And
Right.
they handle him. Seema finally takes on the case and shows him apartments, including an apartment wrapped by Ryan Serhant.
Yep,
And
from Million Dollar Listing New York on Bravo for our Bravo
yes, deep
fans.
cut. And when they're at this apartment, they have sex.
Oh,
Oh, it was so crazy. Can you imagine having sex
no,
listing? Like an
no.
apartment that you're
Seema is wild.
that was crazy. She's
Happy
found
for
love
her.
and I'm happy for her. They make a cute couple. But another cliffhanger, Seema's man is like, hey, I gotta go film this movie for 5 months. Come with me.
She said no.
She
Isn't that
said
interesting?
no.
Would you have
I
said
was
yes?
surprised. I would have said yes.
I think I would have said yes
I would have said
too.
yes because Seema's a real estate agent, right? You have more flexibility, right? You work for yourself, really.
Right.
So if you have the savings and like if you're just gonna be like staying with this guy that you just met and you love him, why not?
Why not take the trip to Egypt? I
Yeah,
don't know.
that sounds gonna do.
And if anything, she can go there for a month, come
And
back
come
to New
back.
York, just go back and forth. I don't know. I didn't get it. She was like, I'm choosing me. And maybe this is, the writer is kind of doing the too woke thing again, being like, we're not going to sacrifice our careers for a man. And props to you. Like, that's fine. But I don't know. It's like, go to Egypt. I don't understand. Like, go to Egypt.
Enjoy, travel with your new man.
Right.
Love him.
When are you just gonna be able to go to Egypt for a few months? I don't know. I didn't see the harm in it.
I
But
also feel like they had Seema say no, so Carrie wouldn't be alone. Because basically, it just so happened both of their men are like, I have to leave.
classic.
Seema's man for 5 months. Aidan Carrie's man for 5 years. Tragic.
5 years.
So I think they wanted to have them both at the end on a girls' trip together. Like, we don't need to be with our men. We're going to be here in Greece. Hey, more power to you.
Yeah, I agree. They wanted them to reunite at the end, being like, oh, well, we're on a beach together after all.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into our
Favorite
favorite moments.
Woo! What I've always liked about Sex and the City and shows like the set in New York, the ambiance, the setting, and all of their fancy dinner parties.
So
Like
fancy.
the Halloween party when they're all like dressed up in their costumes. No one can guess that Harry and Charlotte are the couple from the Americans.
That was so bizarre. Why would they do that?
So funny. It's on brand for them. Then Lisa and Herbert's like anniversary party gone wrong because
Oh, that was sad.
Herbert forgets to send out the invites. But they look great. The table settings are nice. The food looks good. I would have loved to have been there at the table celebrating them.
Literally.
Of course, Carrie's Last Supper in her apartment.
I can't. That was a lot.
With the Michelin star chef.
Yes, the cutie.
Neat. Yeah, so I feel like they do a great job of having like events, lunches, dinner parties.
Yeah.
I love seeing that.
I agree that Carrie's Last Supper was a highlight for sure because we saw the whole cast there.
It was nice.
And it was a good reflection of the past 2 seasons. And it was cool. I really liked the question. Carrie was like, everyone go around saying something you're letting go of. And I thought that was nice. And that was a good question because it's really open-ended. It could, you can say whatever you want, how much you want. So I really liked that moment. And another moment that I really enjoyed was Carrie going to this widow conference. And I'm like, what? There's widow conferences?
That was
interesting.
So crazy.
But there was like a stand-up performer who was just killing it right before her. And she was crushing, so funny. And then Carrie goes on with this really sad book.
About Big Dying.
Yes, about Big Dying. And she's reading an excerpt from her book. And she ends up crushing it and reading it. And everyone loves her reading. So I really like that moment. I thought that was nice.
It was good to see Carrie be able to share publicly because a scene earlier, when remember she's recording the audiobook of the book and can't get past the chapter about Big Dying. So it was also a good callback that look now Carrie can read about the book in front of a big audience. So I was excited for her.
Yeah,
Good moment.
I agree. That was a good full circle moment. And we already talked about this. Samantha coming back, final episode cameo. We're so excited. We're like, Samantha, because we all miss her. Bring her back. Do you think she would do more cameos or even become a cast member?
I think the fact that she did a cameo is a positive sign.
Definitely.
So possibly. I will say it was nice how her cameo was like, oh, Carrie, I wish I could come to your last supper. I was actually like on my way to the airport, but the flight got canceled. So it was like nice to show that like her and Carrie are on good terms.
That was cute. Yeah, I agree. It was a supportive moment. Being like, Carrie, I want to support you. I wish I was there. I agree. I like that. So I would love if Samantha made more appearances on the show. And like you said, this is a good sign. I think the fact that she did a cameo on camera, I really think she could come back. Because she loves that everyone's like, Samantha, Kim
Yeah, I'm like,
Cattrall.
if anything,
She's
Kim
loving
Cattrall
it.
is great. Yeah, people love you. They want to see you.
I mean, RIP How I Met Your Father, that got canceled, so.
Yikes. That show was not it. That's for sure. That show was not it.
If you listen to our second episode, it was my number one worst content of 2022. And it got canceled. So Kim Cattrall, she's free. She's free. Come back. She's not recording How I Met Your Father anymore. So come back, girl.
Speaking of things that aren't it, let's talk about our least favorite moments.
As we talked about, Che, the first season was just cringe on cringe on cringe with all the different stand-up sequences, and it was bad. And we got some more of that this season when Che did a stand-up about Miranda.
Miranda was in the audience.
Bad. I know Carrie was like, oh, me and Aidan are going to Che's stand-up. Miranda was like, can I join? And she was like, did you tell Che? And Miranda said, no, I want to surprise them.
Be like a good ex-girlfriend.
Bad idea. Carrie was like, okay, surprise. And Che is just completely destroying Miranda right now in their stand-up, saying that yeah, I dated an old white woman, all this stuff, inexperienced, didn't know what she was doing. It was so bad.
Rough.
This is so embarrassing.
And comedians tend to speak about their life, what they know, but I doubt the people are in the audience.
No, exactly. And I was thinking, I wanted to ask you this question. For that reason, would you ever date a stand-up comedian? Is that a wise thing to do? Obviously, of course, they deserve love, of course. But knowing that there's potential that they could air all your business.
I'd have to make them promise to never talk about me in stand-up. And if they can't do that, no.
It's a chop.
It's a chop.
I mean, Miranda, you knew that Che was probably going to talk about you in stand-up, you know? Like, what happened to Miranda was so embarrassing. I would hate for that to happen to me. So I think I would have to do. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Another rough moment was when Aidan's son had that accident trying to go see Aidan at the farm. That was really sad.
Yeah, it's interesting because you get hints that maybe something's wrong with that son, or he's like something's going on because he calls his dad when he's in New York with Carrie, like, I have to talk to you. Carrie tries to interact with him. He's like not listening to her.
Right.
Comes to New York and meets with Carrie, and she's like, yeah, he's interesting, like talking about her kid. And it's like clearly something was going on with him. And then for him to like be driving underage, I think under the influence, in Aidan's car looking for him, it was like a big cry for help.
I know.
And it was really sad.
Really sad.
To have, like, of course, a kid be going through that, but also to the impact it had on Carrie and Aidan.
I know. And Aidan crying on the phone to Carrie was just really so depressing. That was really sad. That was really sad. Yeah. And then as a result, a huge least favorite moment, Aidan tells Carrie that they have to put a pause on their relationship for 5 years. Gag. Face crack. I still
I didn't believe it when I heard. I was like, did he say 5 years?
No. 5 years?
Like, is that the solution? Is the solution just trying to visit each other and travel more often? Or is the solution just breaking up for 5 years and telling someone to wait for you?
Is it fair for Aidan to ask Carrie to wait for 5 years? Because I don't think that's fair.
No.
5 years
think
is
you
a
should have
long
just broken up with her.
time.
I think you should have just broken up with her. Like, hey, I can't be in a relationship right now. My son's going through too much.
Right.
Would have been awful, but not taking a break for 5 years. That's insane.
Because especially they're in their 50s, right? Time is of the essence.
Big just died.
Right. Why telling me to wait 5 years for you is so unrealistic. That is not fair. Or like you said, Carrie, can you, move here part-time, right? Can you live here?
Carrie,
Or
New York City, crazy. But like that's a better solution than taking a break for 5 years.
it's so annoying because I like Aidan, but that request is absurd. Wait for me for 5 years.
Like,
And she's like, are you breaking up?
They were so happy. Like, Carrie was having this last supper in her apartment because she wants to move into a new townhome that's big enough for Aidan and his kids to visit. And for that to happen, you knew it wasn't gonna last. Like,
we knew it was too good to be true. We knew something was up, but I don't think anyone expected it.
I'd rather be broken up with than tell me, hey, wait 5 years. That's a long time.
Who or what did you love to hate this season?
Well, speaking of Aidan, what's crazy is that I've loved to love Aidan, typically.
Correct. I agree.
I feel like the 5 years ask puts him in love to hate. Like, there's just no way for me that that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. Usually, I loved Aidan up until the last episode. But that made me very upset. So I think he correctly falls in love to hate for sure. As we've talked about, Carrie's a very polarizing figure. I think in Just Like That, she's redeemed herself a bit. I think rightfully so. She's matured in like 20 years. I would hope she had matured in 20 years. But I think that she's focusing on herself. She's having fun. She's focusing on her friendships, right? I still think that she does make mistakes, like how she kind of kicked Seema to the curb when she started, being with Aidan again. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot. And she just became really kind of obsessed with her relationship, and other things kind of fell to the wayside. But Carrie has definitely redeemed herself more this season.
I agree. I think I'll throw in love to hate Che and Miranda, like both of them,
right?
As a like couple, they got better. Like, right, Che is less hateable. I think Miranda towards the end less hateable, but they still both made some crazy decisions this season. Yeah, and when they were together, it was like, ooh.
Very true. I liked how Miranda ended, but before the final episode and she was, on BBC, she's just been a bit of a hot mess. But she is growing. She went to go see Steve at the Pure and is working to repair that relationship. She had that conversation with Che at the party. So Miranda's taking steps. So I agree. I think she evolved a lot this season.
She made good strides.
Yes. Who did you hate to hate this season?
All the annoying Gen Z kids. Lily making her mom go get her a condom in the middle of a snowstorm. Rock, their parents letting them be a model and be like, oh, I don't do that anymore. I was like, okay, must be nice.
I know Charlotte was running all around the city to go to modeling agencies for Rock. Literally, and then Laura, I can't. Nice. Must be nice. And then I don't want to do that anymore. Do it. Okay, Rock. Bye. Bye, Rock.
Brady, we've already touched on. Sleeping with everything he sees, having a bad breakup. Just kind of annoying. Yeah, a mess.
Making Miranda fly across country to see him. He's like, Mom, I need you. And I'm like, isn't he in college? Like, what? Like, why can't he?
No, he didn't want to go to college. So I think he's like 18 or 17 about to go to college.
Yeah, these kids, And I'm like, they're not that young. They're teenagers, right? And they just seem incapable of doing anything for themselves. It's very bizarre. Yeah, Aiden's sons, oh gosh, they're going through a lot. It's hard. And they're
Like, I mean, I can't
rooting.
imagine, right?
Yeah.
Parents divorced, dad dating someone new, not always around. Like, I'm sure it's a lot to
Yeah.
go through, but they were very tough.
Yeah. Literally ruined Carrie and Aiden's relationship. And Lisa's son and his girlfriend, oh my gosh, they were
Yeah,
annoying. They're like making out at in like right outside the school. That was so weird.
very weird. The fact that she wanted to see
Her
her closet,
closet?
it just everything about it. I was like, stay away, stay
Yeah.
away.
These kids are whack. They're bad.
Too
They're
bad.
really bad. Okay, who did you love to love this season?
Lisa and Herbert, I just love the
They're
relationship.
great.
Similar to Charlotte and Harry, they just have a great, like we said, stable, happy relationship. You see how they have disagreements, but they make up and they're trying to be push and pull, right? Like Lisa has this big documentary talk at the same time as like a meeting for Herbert. She goes to her event and then Herbert goes to his event and then to her event to support her. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like
Yeah,
Harry stepping up to help Charlotte as she goes back to work. Like you love seeing that. So I think those couples are my love to love. I also really like Seema. I feel like
love Seema.
always looks great and she's really, I think like you said, a nice fresh addition, particularly in like the Samantha vein. Like I think she brings that Samantha energy that we need.
I agree. Seema is a breath of fresh air. I'm a big fan of hers. Confident, fun, but she was trying to self-sabotage a bit this season.
Sad.
But she got the sense back into her, so it worked out.
That
Okay,
our
red
game.
flag, green flag, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, Laura. Is it a red flag to ask your partner to wait 5 years for you?
Yes, 100%. It's inconsiderate. There's so many things wrong with that. It's like an ultimatum. That's what it feels like, right? It's like, oh, well, we're not going to break up, but you have to wait for me for 5 years. And then if you don't agree with that or there's pushback, you look like the bad person, right? Because you're like, what? 5 years is too much time. Life is too short. Time is of the essence. I get 5 years. So much can happen in that time, right? So unfair. Such a red flag. Either break up with me and be like, hey, if we're both single in 5 years, like, let's come back together. Or come up with a compromise and be like, okay, if you can come visit me, once a month or every few months, I can come see you. There's another solution than just be like, oh, 5 years from now. Hopefully there's more nuance. Like it felt like Aidan was just 5 years and then we'll come back together. But it's such a red flag. I was so upset by that.
I agree. It's giving like Aidan knows he needs to be there for his son, but he doesn't want to fully give up on Carrie because he loves her and is excited to be back with her. But you have to make the tough decision. You can't bypass the tough decision. Like
No,
you have to break up if you need to be there for your son right now. You just
right.
can't have a relationship.
Aidan wants to have his cake and eat it too. But it's not fair. He
No.
can't do that.
I felt so bad for Carrie. I don't think I've ever felt so bad for Carrie on the show as I did.
She's usually in the wrong. She's
When
usually in the wrong.
Aidan asked that I never felt so bad for her.
I agree. Okay, Shelby, is it a green flag to buy condoms for your child?
I think it depends what kind of parent you are. I want to say no because I think it's crazy to condone that, especially in the middle of a snowstorm. Like, really, Charlotte, you were trying to have a nice, chill night at home with your family, watching a movie, and then you leave to go get your child condoms walking in the snow so she can have sex with this guy she doesn't really like. Like, I feel like it's not the solution. I would have been like, no, get your butt home. Not having a condom is a sign. Like, you need to be safe. Like, let's just finish watching this movie as family.
Right.
But I think if you're a parent that's like, yeah, I want my kids to do things like that and like be supportive, I think it would be seen as a green flag. Like, yeah, go get condoms for your child. They should have safe sex. I don't think that's how I would have approached the situation. So I'm saying no, it's a red flag.
Yeah. I think in the circumstances of the show, this was absolutely a red flag. Why was Charlotte running through the streets during a snowstorm and Lily is like, you need to come here right now. I'm going to have sex with him regardless. So you need to find me condoms in a snowstorm. Like, that was absolute insanity. There's no way Charlotte should have done that. She should have gone and picked Lily up and be like, no, you're coming home right now. That's what she should have done. Because that was and exactly like Lily didn't even like this person. I don't know. It just didn't make sense in the context of the show. And I think we saw that they broke up because remember there was like a Valentine's Day thing and Lily was right. They ended up breaking up.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I would have handled it differently. Like, if she's not really into this guy, be like, no, just come home. Like, why are you trying to force this?
Right. There'll be another time, Lily. And how old is she? Like 15, 16? She's really young.
Overall, how are we feeling about And Just Like That? Is it a wait or a watch?
If you're a Sex and the City fan, I would say it's a watch. I think there's so much to talk about. And I think people are really it's in the zeitgeist, right? Everyone's talking about it. So I think it's important to be, if you want to be a part of the conversation, it's fun. I thought this season was a lot better than the first season. I would say it's a watch. I enjoyed this season.
For me, it's a surprise watch, given how season 1 was. I thought, oh man, I hate watch this again.
Exactly.
They did a much better job developing the diverse characters, like Che, like Lisa, Seema. I think they did a better job gelling everyone. Before it felt forced that they all would have dinner together. Now it makes sense because they're all friends and they're all hanging out. 100%. So I think this was a lot better and I would recommend watching.
On to our what to watch segment. Season 3 of It Just Like That.
Yes, it got renewed. Woo! So whenever they film the next season, I will be there. They have me hooked now.
Hopefully Samantha will be back.
Fingers crossed.
I think there's a lot of mess that needs to be figured out. So
yeah, they had a lot of cliffhangers. So I do think they've set it up well for season 3.
Exactly.
And of course, we could also watch reruns of Sex and the City.
Iconic.
We recently were on a road trip in a hotel and it was on. And it was just so fun just having that on. So
exactly. Yes.
Always down for a good Sex and the City rerun.
Always. Well, thank you everyone for listening to our episode of And Just Like That season 2. If you enjoyed listening, leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. It means a lot to us. So please leave us 5 stars. Follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, everything, YouTube, all of it.
Yes, and subscribe, follow. Yes. Please, we want
DM us.
Hear from you, comment, let us know what you think. And you can email us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram if you want to give us recommendations on what to watch next.
Thank you. Bye.
Everything.